Welcome to your second major project introduction. At the beginning of this week, you should have turned in your research proposal and annotated bibliography, which was the first major project. Now we're moving into the research paper. You can find the assignment sheet for this in the week 4 Canvas module underneath course documents for week 4, and we'll hit the highlights of it in this video, but make sure you read the whole assignment sheet for all of the details. So we want to, of course, start by covering why we're doing this assignment. The short answer is that we're required by the university to assign a research paper, but that's a pretty basic, unfulfilling answer. We can create our own additional reasoning for it instead. Research papers broadly are a place that we can look to test knowledge, express different ideas, and explore interpretations of data. In writing a research paper, you're building on to key communication skills like assessing sources, connecting sources, and constructing an argument based on evidence. We've mentioned before that understanding and writing in a variety of genres allows us to also become more effective when we encounter new genres of writing, so this is more practice in that. If you don't have much experience with research papers, or it's just been a while since you've written one, or maybe you're just generally feeling anxious and need some guidance with it, there are lots of places that you can go. The Writing Center exists as a resource for you, and as you know from our video last week, you'll need to visit there at least once before the class ends, so this could be a chance to knock out that assignment while working on this one too. I'm also here for you as a resource, so you can post on the catch-all discussion board or email me with any questions. Since we know that research and rhetoric are intertwined, we need to make sure we're thinking about our audience. Our audience for this project is Ball State's students, faculty, and staff. With this audience in mind, you'll want to think about what concepts you're explaining or not explaining. For example, you probably don't need to tell us much about Frog Baby if that relates to your research paper. Your audience most likely knows who Frog Baby is and where she resides on campus. However, you might need to explain the meal plan, since that isn't something everyone in your audience might be familiar with. In terms of topic, you're just continuing to write what you wrote about for the research proposal and annotated bibliography. It'd be unfair to make you totally switch gears, so we're using the research and writing you just did to build into this paper. If you check out the drafting processes video from last week, you'll be familiar with the calendar I suggested as far as timeline goes for this project. But feel free to adjust that as necessary to fit your writing process. Maybe you don't need to spend 3 days finding additional sources because you have all 6 already. I have split the requirements for this project up into 2 different areas, content and format. In terms of content, you will need a thesis, which advocates for some type of change at Ball State. This should evolve from your research question, so use that as your jumping off point. Then you'll need to include an image somewhere, plus its alt text and or caption. If you need a refresher on this, you should check out the Alt Text 101 video that you were supposed to watch during week 1 in the course. You should include 3 quotes from sources, and you should include in-text citations every time you reference a source. Like with the last project, you should do this as standard in your field, but generally it'll be in MLA, APA, or Chicago style. For formatting, the paper should be 2,000 to 3,000 words, which is generally somewhere around 8 to 12 pages. Sometimes people hit 2,000 to 3,000 words in 6 or 7 pages, so just make sure you're paying attention to the word count and not the page count. It's okay if your paper is only 7 pages, provided you've written at least 2,000 words. This word count excludes your works cited though, so please be aware of that when you're submitting your paper. Speaking of, your works cited page should include 6 sources, and you should have citations as standard in your field for each of them. Again, turning in a list of links is not acceptable. You need to have formal citations, as that's how we give credit to other authors whose information we're using. This project is due by Sunday, June 22nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, but if you didn't use your extension on the first project, you can use it on this one to get a few extra days. As long as you've met all of the requirements, you will have a complete on the paper. If you're missing some, it will be incomplete, and you'll have a week from when I leave my feedback to revise and resubmit for the possibility to earn credit. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please post on the catch-all discussion board or reach out to me via email.